If tomorrow morning you woke up and still carried the same fear and procrastination you have today, how would you feel? Would you sense that dull heaviness in your chest? That quiet frustration that no matter how many ideas you have, your life seems to be stuck in the same loop? This is not just about a bad day or a rough week. It is about living in a reality that feels like a rerun, where your dreams are paused and your confidence fades a little more each time you tell yourself not. Today, you may think the problem is outside of you, the economy, the people around you, the circumstances you cannot control. But what if the truth is that the channel you are tuned into is keeping you locked in the same scene? There is a way to shift that channel instantly, to step into a version of life where energy flows differently, where opportunities start appearing, and where your mind works for you instead of against you. Research from Harvard shows that the human mind drifts nearly half of the time, and when it does, dissatisfaction rises sharply. That wandering mind, left unchecked, becomes a magnet for worry and hesitation. Imagine Sarah from Austin, who spent years watching self-improvement videos without ever acting on them. Then one morning, she decided to change just one small habit in her morning routine. And that single decision redirected the course of her career completely. This is the kind of pivot that is possible when awareness meets action. If you have ever felt stuck, if you have wondered why the same fears keep following you into every new plan, type the word escape in the comments right now, and you will see that you are not alone. Because what holds you back may not be the weight of the world, but the way you have been programmed to see yourself. The question is, are you ready to find out what has really been keeping you where you are, and how to break free from it before another sunrise catches you in the same place? Sometimes what holds you back is not the situation you are in, but the story you keep telling yourself. That story may have been shaped years ago, maybe even in childhood, reinforced by moments when you felt powerless, unheard, or overlooked. It becomes a quiet script running in the background of your mind, influencing your choices, your reactions, and even your sense of possibility. These are what many call limiting beliefs, mental walls that you did not consciously build yet still live behind. Your brain has an incredible ability to repeat and strengthen patterns. And research from the UCLA Neuroscience Institute shows that beliefs are reinforced through repetition, whether they are true or false. That means every time you silently confirm to yourself that you are not good enough, not smart enough, or not ready, your mind is laying another brick in that invisible wall. It is not that life is blocking your path. It is that the path in your mind is being closed by your own narrative. Think about Mark, a firefighter in Chicago, who for years believed he was not intelligent enough to continue his education. His life was framed by that belief until a near-death experience made him question everything. That moment cracked the wall, and he stepped through it, eventually becoming a respected training instructor. The same shift is possible for you when you begin to see that these mental chains are not permanent structures, but patterns that can be interrupted. Often we assume that if we change the outside, our lives will transform. Yet the reality is, the deepest change comes when the inner script is rewritten. The most dangerous part is how subtle these beliefs can be. They hide in the words you use when you speak about yourself, in the hesitation before you try something new, in the excuses that feel like truths. Once you recognize them, you can begin the process of questioning them, challenging their accuracy, and replacing them with empowering perspectives that actually move you forward. If you have ever caught yourself saying, "I can't," right? It's in the comments and watch how, together, we can dismantle it. Because the first step in freeing yourself is seeing the chains for what they are. And if these beliefs have been with you for years, you might wonder how to break something so deeply rooted. That is exactly where we are going next, into the moment where belief meets a force strong enough to shatter it completely. To break a belief, you need a moment powerful enough to shake the very foundation it stands on. That kind of moment is what we call a trigger event. An experience so charged with emotion and clarity that it forces the mind to form new connections and question old assumptions instantly. While sometimes these moments happen naturally, such as a life-changing encounter or an unexpected challenge, you can also create them deliberately. By combining vivid mental imagery with immediate action, you can simulate the same neurological impact without waiting for life to hand it to you. Visualization works by engaging your senses and emotions in a future scenario so real that your brain begins to accept it as possible. And when you pair that with a small but decisive step taken right away, you anchor that new possibility in reality. Research from the Tony Robbins Institute reveals that coupling intense emotional states with prompt action can rewire neural pathways up to 5 times faster than through thought alone. This is because your nervous system learns most effectively when there is both a strong feeling and a tangible result to associate with it. Take the example of Linda, an accountant in Seattle, who scheduled a meeting with her company's CEO for the sole purpose of asking for advice. That meeting lasted just 10 minutes, yet it completely shifted her career trajectory because the act of putting herself into that situation challenged and rewrote the story she had been telling herself about her worth and potential. A trigger event bypasses the slow erosion of doubt and delivers a sudden break in the old pattern, offering a clear opening to step into a new identity. The key is to make the action small enough to do right now, yet meaningful enough to stretch your comfort zone. This could be sending a message to someone you admire, applying for an opportunity you feel unprepared for, or committing to a challenge that excites and scares you at the same time. If you are ready to create your own trigger event today, type the words "ready now" in the comments and begin shaping that shift in real time. Because the beliefs that have held you back for years can crumble in a single moment when the right conditions are set. The real question that follows is how to sustain the energy of this breakthrough so it becomes the new normal rather than a fleeting spark. That is exactly where we are going next, into the methods that lock your new state firmly in place. Keeping a new state is like maintaining a muscle. You have to train it consistently. The moment you break through an old pattern and step into a higher version of yourself, the work is not over. It is just beginning. This is where the concept of coherence comes in. The alignment of your thoughts, emotions, and actions so they all move in the same direction, reinforcing each other instead of working at odds. When your mind and heart are in sync, your body follows, and the energy you project becomes stable rather than fluctuating with every challenge. This is not about grand gestures, but about daily practices that strengthen your state until it becomes second nature. Simple breathing techniques can calm your nervous system and bring you back to center. Visualization can keep your focus locked on the reality you are building. And small deliberate actions can prove to yourself every day that this is who you are now. Research from the HeartMath Institute shows that the electromagnetic field of the heart is 60 times stronger than that of the brain, directly influencing emotional states. This means your feelings are not just private experiences, they are powerful signals that shape your reality. James, a veteran from Denver, used coherence techniques to reduce the grip of PTSD and eventually start his own business. He did not change overnight, but by practicing this alignment daily, he built a new normal that no longer depended on fear or past trauma. The beauty of coherence is that it does not require hours of work, only moments of intention repeated with consistency. By taking 2 minutes each day to breathe deeply, imagine the life you are committed to and take one aligned action. You are locking that state into your nervous system. Over time, the gap between who you were and who you are becoming closes, and the new state feels natural. If you want me to share a 2-minute exercise to help maintain this alignment, comment the words "practice now" and commit to showing up for yourself daily. Because a breakthrough without maintenance fades, But a breakthrough with coherence becomes a permanent upgrade. The question that remains is what to do if fear tries to return and pull you back to the old version. That is the next challenge we will face together, transforming fear from an enemy into a powerful ally. Fear does not disappear, but you can turn it into an ally. The truth is that fear is a signal, a form of energy pointing toward the edges of your comfort zone. And when you learn to work with it instead of running from it, it becomes a guide. The method that transforms this relationship is called Exposure plus Reframe, a two-part approach that first invites you to meet fear in small, manageable doses and then shifts the meaning you attach to it. Controlled exposure allows your nervous system to adapt gradually, reducing its overreaction and replacing panic with familiarity. The American Psychological Association reports that this type of deliberate engagement can reduce average fear levels by 65%. The second part, Reframe, is about rewriting the internal translation of fear. Changing phrases like "I will fail" into "I am learning how to win." This change in language is more than positive thinking. It alters the way your brain interprets the signal, turning a perceived threat into an opportunity for growth. Consider Anna, a student in New York who was once terrified of speaking in front of others. Instead of avoiding the discomfort, she recorded and posted a short 30-second video each day, facing the feeling in a controlled and repeated way. Over time, what once froze her in place became a source of confidence, and she eventually stood on a TEDx stage sharing her story. By approaching fear step by step and consciously redefining what it means, you strip it of its power to control you and instead harness it as a force that sharpens your focus and expands your capacity. The key is not to overwhelm yourself, but to take the smallest next step that still feels like progress, and then anchor that experience in a new, empowering meaning. Every time you do this, you weaken the old association and strengthen the new one, until fear no longer signals danger, but signals growth. Write down your biggest fear in the comments, and know that doing so is the first step to transforming it into strength. Because fear will always exist at the edge of your next breakthrough, and if you learn to make it your partner, it will lead you directly into the life you have been working to create. Once fear is no longer an obstacle, the next step is stepping fully into the highest version of yourself, and that is exactly where we are heading next. When fear has been tamed, you will see the door to new possibilities swing open. Beyond that threshold is the highest version of yourself, the one who lives in alignment with true values and acts from clarity rather than hesitation. To reach that version, you must first define it with precision, and one of the most powerful tools for doing so is the future self letter. This is a written message from the person you aspire to be, dated years into the future, speaking back to the present you with gratitude and encouragement. By describing in rich detail who you have become, what your daily life looks like, the people you connect with, the impact you make, and the values you stand by, you create a vivid mental blueprint. Research from Stanford shows that imagining your future self in specific terms can increase the likelihood of achieving your goals by 30%. This is because the brain begins to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be, seeing the vision as something tangible rather than distant fantasy. Tom, a coffee shop owner in Portland, used this method by writing to Tom 2028. In his letter, he painted a clear picture of owning multiple thriving locations, mentoring young entrepreneurs, and enjoying a balanced lifestyle. Within a few years, that vision became his reality because every decision he made was filtered through the lens of his future identity. The process also requires identifying your core values as they act like a compass, guiding your choices. In moments of uncertainty, once your future self and your values are defined, the next step is aligning present actions with that vision, no matter how small they seem. Every choice either brings you closer to or further from the person you intend to become. If you want me to share a template for crafting your own future self letter, comment the words "I want it" and commit to writing it within the next 24 hours. This is not about waiting for the right time, because the act of putting your future into words is already the first step toward living it. Once your future self is clear in your mind, the challenge becomes acting immediately without falling into the trap of delay. And that is exactly what we will uncover next: the simple key to taking action now rather than someday. The key is to do the smallest thing, but do it right now. This is the essence of the 2-minute rule, a principle that cuts through procrastination by removing the weight of big commitments and replacing it with immediate, effortless action. Any goal, no matter how ambitious, can be broken down into a first step that takes no more than 2 minutes. And by starting this way, you bypass the mental resistance that often stops you before you begin. Instead of telling yourself you have to go to the gym for an hour, simply put on your athletic shoes. Instead of deciding to write a full chapter, just open your document and type one sentence. These microactions may seem too small to matter, yet they create a powerful momentum that leads naturally to the next step. Research from B.J. Fogg at Stanford shows that small habits are 70% more likely to stick compared to large, sudden changes, because the brain treats them as easy wins rather than heavy tasks. Each time you complete a 2-minute action, you train your identity, telling yourself, "I am the kind of person who takes action." Over time, these small wins accumulate, building a foundation of consistency that makes bigger actions feel normal. Emily, an office worker in Boston, started with a goal to write just one sentence per day. Within months, her habit expanded naturally, and eventually, she completed an entire manuscript, becoming a published author. The beauty of this approach is that it removes the pressure to feel ready, because readiness grows through doing. By committing to the smallest possible step, you make starting so easy that avoiding it feels harder than taking action. Comment your own 2-minute action below, whether it is sending one message, reading a single page, or preparing one healthy meal choice, and commit to doing it today. The key is not in how much you do at first, but in creating the rhythm of showing up every day, because momentum is built in moments, not marathons. Once you master the art of starting instantly, the next challenge becomes keeping that drive alive over weeks, months, and years. And that is exactly where we will go next, into the system that fuels lasting motivation so it never runs dry. Motivation does not arrive on its own. You have to create an environment that feeds it. The truth is that willpower alone is unreliable, but a well-built support system can keep you moving forward, even when your energy dips. One of the most effective ways to do this is to find an accountability partner or join a community with the same vision. When you know someone else is counting on you to show up, the likelihood of following through increases dramatically. Pair this with breaking your larger goal into short-term milestones so that progress is visible and celebrated along the way. Each milestone achieved gives you a burst of accomplishment that fuels the next step, creating a cycle of progress instead of burnout. Research from the Dominican University found that writing down your goals and sharing them with another person can boost your chances of achieving them by 76%. This is because accountability transforms your intention from a private wish into a shared commitment, making it harder to back out silently. Kevin from San Diego experienced this firsthand when he started a small morning running group with just 2 friends. Over time, the group grew to 50 members, and the shared commitment kept everyone showing up, rain or shine, for 3 years straight. The consistency was not driven by extraordinary self-discipline, but by the energy of a community that supported each other's growth. To build your own system, choose people who genuinely want to see you succeed. Set clear checkpoints together and make your wins public within that group. The more you surround yourself with reminders of your commitment, the easier it becomes to keep taking action. Tag one friend in the comments who will walk this journey with you and invite them to hold you to your word. Because when you combine shared accountability with small, clear steps, your motivation stops being a fleeting feeling and becomes a self-sustaining force. The next challenge, however, is inevitable. Even with support, setbacks will come, and how you respond to them will decide whether you keep moving forward or stop entirely. That is exactly what we will explore next: how to transform failure into the very thing that accelerates your success. Failure is only data. You are the one who assigns the label to it. When you start seeing every setback as information rather than a verdict, you take back the power to shape your next move. This shift in perspective is not about ignoring mistakes. It is about extracting the lesson quickly and applying it without hesitation. The process begins with analyzing what happened, identifying the specific factors that led to the outcome, and then making targeted adjustments before trying again. This is the essence of the fail fast, learn faster model, a mindset that treats each attempt as a test rather than a final score. Harvard Business Review reports that companies embracing a culture of learning from failure grow 22% faster than those that avoid risks. The same principle applies to individuals, because speed of learning directly impacts speed of progress. Jessica, a startup founder in Miami, experienced this when her first 2 business ventures collapsed. Instead of seeing them as proof she was unfit for entrepreneurship, she treated them as detailed case studies. By dissecting what worked, what failed, and what she could do differently, she identified a new product idea that eventually became a $1 million success. The key is to act before the emotional weight of failure turns into fear. By moving from reflection to adjustment to action in rapid sequence, you prevent negative momentum from setting in. Every so-called failure contains data about your approach, your strategy, your timing, and even your mindset. When you see it this way, there is no such thing as starting from scratch, because you always begin again with more knowledge than before. Share one failure in the comments that you have turned into a lesson, and realize that by doing so, you might inspire someone else to keep going. The people who achieve lasting success are not those who never fall, but those who see each fall. As part of the climb, when you take the label failure and replace it with feedback, you strip it of its power to stop you. The question that naturally follows is how to recognize when all these changes, lessons and actions have truly placed you in a new reality. That is exactly what we will explore next. The unmistakable signs that you have stepped into a transformed version of your life. You will know when everything starts to click into place and you feel relief instead of anxiety. It is a subtle yet undeniable shift, where events seem to line up with your intentions and unexpected opportunities arrive at exactly the right moment. These are synchronicities, moments when the outer world mirrors your inner state, showing you that the work you have done to transform yourself is now reflected in your reality. Time itself begins to feel different, sometimes moving quickly when you are immersed in purposeful action, sometimes slowing down in moments of deep presence. Your emotions settle into a steadier rhythm, with positive feelings lasting longer, and challenges no longer triggering the same level of stress they once did. Psychology Today notes that when the brain enters a state of flow, creativity can increase by up to 500%, and this state becomes more accessible when your actions, thoughts, and feelings are consistently aligned. Brian, an artist in Los Angeles, experienced this after making intentional changes in his mindset and habits. Once he shifted his focus from fear to possibility, every major opportunity in his career seemed to appear effortlessly, as if drawn to the version of himself he had become. This is not magic. It is the natural result of living in coherence with your highest values and sustaining the practices that brought you here. To keep this new reality anchored, you must continue the habits that created it. Whether it is daily visualization, small, consistent actions, or surrounding yourself with a supportive environment. Breakthroughs can fade if you stop feeding them, but they can also grow stronger when reinforced over time. If you are ready to say yes to your highest timeline, press like, leave a comment, and subscribe so you remain connected to a space that supports your growth. Thank you for choosing to watch this message among millions of others available, because this is not random. It is a step in your journey, a sign that you are already moving in the direction of the life you have envisioned. The patterns are aligning. Your energy is different, and the world is beginning to respond. This is your confirmation that you are standing in a new reality. And now your only task is to keep walking forward in it with intention and trust.